I read 10 books in the month of October. I had such a good reading month. I read so many incredible stories, learned so much new information, and you guys know the drill. I have to share it with you guys. So let's get into it. Okay, friends, starting off with one of my favorites from this month is The View from 90 by Charles Handy. It was a very spontaneous pick. I spent my month in Paris, and this is one of the books that drew my eye in one of the bookstores, so I picked it up. I'm so glad I did because it was one of the most refreshing books I read in a very long time. This is a memoir of the author's life and his perspective now as a 90-year-old man who suffered a stroke and everything that he's learned about life. There are 56 different chapters, each dedicated to something that he thinks is incredibly important and that he's learned over his life. Some of the most important questions of life, like what things really matter and how to be accepting of ourselves and others, and covering all these just very human experiences. This was his final book, and I got very emotional reading this, but in the best possible way, because I think it's just such valuable information coming from someone who's 90 and has lived so much life, and I just really soaked up all of the lessons that I could from this, and it was just a very, very special read for me. Okay, next I read Close Protection by Eden Victoria, and to say that I was obsessed was an understatement, guys. This is a bodyguard romance, and you guys know me, that is one of my all-time favorite tropes, especially when it's done well. It's literally my favorite. And guys, it was done so well. So the main character, Daphne, comes from a very privileged background. She comes from a lot of money. So when her dad's office gets broken into, he hires a bodyguard. His name is Milos. I love him. We love him. So his job is to protect Daphne. He takes his job very seriously. The tension was between the two. Loved them together. There's also like a fake dating trope in there and a slow burn. This got me out of my reading slump. So for the romance girlies, read this. Next I actually reread The Diary of Anne Frank. This is sponsored for you guys that don't know who Anne Frank is. She was a victim of the Holocaust, and this is her diary of over the 2 years of her and her family hiding to escape the prosecution from the Nazis. I grew up with her story. It is always something that stuck with me. I reread her story every couple of years because I think it is so incredibly important to remember what happened. She was such an incredibly brave young girl. For anyone who hasn't read this, I really encourage you to read it because it is one of the most incredible stories you will ever read. I feel like I genuinely take something new away from this every time that I read it. You can actually go visit the Anne Frank exhibition. It's happening in New York City until February 1st, 2026. Definitely gonna be going, and I will see you guys there. Next, I read Mr. Salary by Sally Rooney. This is the second book I've ever read from her. It's actually a short story by her. It follows this girl named Sookie who moves in with this guy Nathan because her mom passed away and her relationship with her dad is really difficult. It's her experience of feeling certain romantic feelings towards Nathan. It is a very short book, like literally like 33 pages. It was honestly so interesting reading something this short but being so invested after 30 pages and then kind of it ending and you being like, wait, I want to know more. I think that's a testament to how incredible her writing is, so definitely loved it. Next, I read Closing Costs by Janie Steele. This is sponsored. I was sat reading this book. I was very intrigued to this storyline because it is a very seductive kind of story, and it follows Anna, who is a real estate agent, and she's very professional, and then she gets a new client. There is this immediate attraction, this immediate spark. And so this is their romantic story of them like fighting off this temptation, but then like faltering to it and giving in. It was spicy, but like in all the correct ways. This is a romance story, but it is also very heavily like a friendship story. Her and her friend group are like a very big part of this story. It gets a little messy, some wires get crossed. It's desire and betrayal, like a very intriguing story. Get ready for your jaw to be on the floor at the end. Okay, next is Paris, France by Gertrude Stein. I read this because guess what? I was in Paris and I was in the bookstore and it caught my eye and I was like, that sounds so interesting. Also, I'm in Paris, so I think I need to read a book called Paris, France. But this was published in 1940 on the day that Paris fell to Germany. So this is the author's account of her life in France, and I think it was absolutely brilliant. I felt like I learned so much about the French culture, especially during that time. Her writing is incredible. Next, I read How Books Can Save Democracy by Michael Fisher. Such an interesting read. Loved this perspective. This is all about how the power of books can bring us together in political division, and it was absolutely brilliant. I learned so much. It was the perfect size, like a short little read. It talks about how books can really foster understanding from all different perspectives and how it's so necessary, especially right now. Definitely a book I feel like everybody needs to pick up and read because it was so impactful for me, and I feel like it would be for a lot of people. Next, I got to read The Path to Heaven by Emily Minjun Chung. This is sponsored. I absolutely adored this book. I'm so grateful because I got to read this in Paris, and it's where a large part of this book takes place, so it was like the most magical experience. It's such a beautiful faith-based story. It follows a man and his experience with his faith, and he goes onto this journey to find out about God, if he exists, where he is, and what he wants him to do. People come across on his path and they go on this journey together. Such a heartwarming story about faith and what it truly means. And I learned so much about faith and about myself, and it made me question things, and it was just such a heartwarming read, and I couldn't recommend it more.